guys, so today I'm going to show you how to paint a faux brick texture. You will need paintbrushes, some paint, and possibly a pencil, and for sure a straight edge. You'll also need a cup of water and a sea sponge. I'm actually going to cut this to be smaller since I have a smaller canvas. Now, this technique you can use on a wall, on basically any surface that you would like this faux brick texture to be on. I've done this same technique with wall paint, so it works with whatever paint you desire. First, you're going to want to mix a medium and a your mid-tones of the colors that you want. A darker and lighter. And I'm going to do more of a light brown tan brick. You can Google some images of brick to find out kind of what colors you would like your bricks to be. And you just use those shades and tints of whatever colors you want. Like if you want red brick, then you just mix kind of a lighter pink and some dark deep red and oranges to get the same effect that I'll show you today. So I'm just mixing a tan color to be one of the colors, so you need to mix two different colors that is going to be your base of your brick. Now you're gonna take your two colors, and you're probably gonna want two different paintbrushes for each color. You're just gonna slop them on your wall or canvas or whatever surface you want this texture on. You're just gonna put them in random areas, just alternating the colors, and you may want a third brush to then blend these two together. You're gonna make kind of like a marbled look with these two colors. You're gonna blend them together to create a solid looking color, but it's gonna look like a marbled surface almost, with the two differentiating lights and darks. And you'll see what I mean when we get to the end of this step. But you kind of just want to smoothly blend the two. And I found the third brush that I took for this was a little bit too rough and was leaving the brush strokes. You kind of don't want that. You want it to be as smooth as possible. So I just went ahead and started using kind of the same brushes that I used for the color because they were a little bit smoother bristles. So you're gonna have it be that marbled look, and I actually mixed another color because it was a little bit too dark from what I wanted it to be. So I went ahead and mixed more of a light tan instead of that yellowy tan, and did that for my background. Now once you get to this step, you want to wait for it to completely dry, and then you will take your sponge, and I go ahead and cut mine down a lot smaller because I have a very small surface. And you're going to take two more colors, one super dark, I used black, and then you're gonna want a super light color. You can do white, but I mixed mine to be another tan color, but a very light tan. Here's when I cut my smaller, or my large sponge smaller. And the next step will be to have your sponge, and I get it damp enough with water so it's not too hard to meld. You kind of want it malleable. Not sure how to correctly say that word. But you want it to be pliable, I guess, to stretch and move around. You'll take your darker color first, and you'll just lightly sponge that on. And if you notice, my wrist is doing kind of twisty motions. That's to not get the same kind of pattern sponged across. So you just want to twist and turn your wrist as you're sponging to get more of an organic texture. And you're just gonna do that over the entire surface. And if you want a thinner or more sparse texture, spotted texture, you can also do like a splatter paint where you super water down the colors, and you'll take a loose paintbrush and just kind of tap it, and it'll make little droplets of the paint color. I decided to do the sponge method just because it was a lot cleaner, and you have more control over where the paint goes, because when you do the splatter method, it can go places that you don't want it to, like the carpet. So I just went with the tame method and did a sponge. And next you will do your lighter color the same way that you did your darker color, and if you happen to get one area too dark, you can kind of sponge over that area a little bit more to lighten it up and break up the dark colors. Now once you're done with this step, you want it to fully dry again. Because next we are going to do the grout lines, and that will require a straight edge sitting on top of that paint, so you want it to be completely dry. And you can measure out where you want your bricks to go, how wide you want them to be. I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it because I have an 8 by 10 canvas, and for your color, you can decide what color you want your grout lines to be. You can look at images of bricks and kind of see. A lot of the time it's like white or gray, and sometimes if it's more aged, it's maybe a browner color, or a tan. I went with like a golden yellow for my grout lines, and you're just going to first draw your horizontal lines for the brick using that straight edge. And if you want perfectly straight, even lines, I would suggest getting a level or like a T-square type ruler to make sure it's perfectly straight. I was kind of just eyeballing it and not too careful for this one. So once you have these lines done, you're gonna do your vertical lines. Now when you do these, you want to stagger them, otherwise they will look kind of weird and too uniform. So I'm just gonna eyeball my vertical grout lines, but you can also use your straight edge again as long as your horizontal lines are dry. And I kind of guesstimated how long I wanted my bricks to be, and I continued that pattern throughout for the length. So you see I separated the top 2 bricks and left like a little tiny edge of one on the side. Now I'm going to look at my top row and see where I put those lines to decide where my next lines I want to go. So I stagger the lines out like this, still keeping in mind how long I decided I wanted my brick to be. And I'll continue to do that down to the bottom. If you see, I continue to stagger, and some of your bricks will meet right up to the edge, and some of them won't be as nice, and you have to add more lines or less lines, or a line at the very edge of the wall or canvas, and then you'll let this step dry, mixing a shadow color. Your shadows and highlights are going to be the next step. So I'm making like a yellow gray to keep with my tan theme. And what you're going to do is just on each of your individual bricks, you are going to draw a line right above your grout line, and if it overlaps the grout line, it's fine because it's a shadow. And you're just going to draw that shadow on the bottom of each brick. I try to keep my lines as thin as I can, so if you have a specific paintbrush that kind of does thinner lines, I would suggest you use one of those and use your straight edge again to get a nice line. And I just continue to do that for every brick. The next step will be to then do the horizontal shadow, which you can decide whether you want that to be on the right or left side. So now we are doing the vertical shadow. I chose to do it on the right side of my brick, and you're going to do the same method you did with the shadow on the bottom of the brick. You're just going to try to get a thin shadow line against each of the grout lines on either side that you choose. You don't have to choose the right side like I did. You can decide where your light falls on your bricks. Now we are going to do the highlight, so that will be on the tops of every brick. And I just mixed a pretty much white, but I added a little bit of yellow. And just remember that the color is going to dry darker than what it looks like wet. And especially white is kind of a strange color because it seems to be brighter than what you see on your paint palette. Another tip for you while you're doing these lines along the straight edge, if your paintbrush seems to be hard to pull, like the color isn't going on as smoothly as you want it, add a little bit of water to your brush. Make sure it's not too much because that'll make things drip down and puddle up. Add a little bit of water and it will pull along the line a lot easier. Now, as you can see, I kind of gave up on the straight edge and just kind of free-handed the rest. I wasn't going for a super neat uniform brick this time, but if you are, I would suggest using a lot of precision and a lot of straight edges, and even using a pencil or chalk or something to mark where you want your lines. And that is how you paint faux brick. So if you enjoyed this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up and also subscribe for more. I also did a faux wood grain video, so I'll link that. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye.